People around you get a promotion, fall in love, move into a new home, and something in you tightens. Not sadness, not indifference, something that feels uncomfortable and familiar and a little shameful. And from the outside, people might call you jealous or bitter or small. They see the frown when someone else wins, and they think they understand what is happening inside you. But they are getting it wrong. What is happening beneath that flash of anger is not really about the other person at all. It is about a gap between the life you feel you were supposed to have and the life you are currently living. The anger is not cruelty, it is grief wearing a mask. You are someone for whom other people's success feels like evidence, evidence that the world is moving forward, and somehow you were left behind. And today, psychology is going to explain exactly why. It starts much earlier than you think. Picture yourself as a child, maybe 7, maybe 9, in a house where love felt like something you had to earn. Perhaps a parent praised your sibling and said nothing to you. Perhaps every achievement you brought home was either dismissed or immediately compared to someone else. Perhaps the message, spoken or unspoken, was that there was only so much good to go around. And a young mind, trying to make sense of a confusing world, draws a logical conclusion. If someone else gets something, that means there is less left for me. Scarcity thinking, not a character flaw, a survival strategy built inside a child who had no other tools. That wiring does not simply disappear when you grow up. It follows you into adulthood, quietly reshaping the way you experience the world. Someone else's good news does not land as neutral information. It lands as a threat. Psychologists call this a fixed resource mindset, the deep, often unconscious belief that happiness, success, and love exist in limited supply. It is the psychological opposite of abundance thinking, and research shows it is almost always rooted in early environments where resources, whether emotional or material, genuinely were scarce. You were not born suspicious of other people's joy. You were taught to be. There is also something called social comparison theory, first developed by Leon Festinger in 1954, which explains that human beings are wired to evaluate themselves by looking sideways at the people around them. For most people, this creates mild discomfort. But when your baseline sense of self-worth is fragile, every upward comparison feels like a verdict. And the verdict is always the same: not enough. Think about the last time a friend told you something wonderful had happened to them. Notice the split second before your response. There was something there, a flicker, before the polite smile arrived. That flicker is not who you are. It is a nervous system that learned to scan for danger in other people's happiness. Here is what almost no one sees about you. You feel things more deeply than most people around you. That intensity, the one that produces the anger, is the same intensity that makes you unusually perceptive, unusually loyal, and capable of extraordinary empathy when you feel safe enough to offer it. The sensitivity is not the problem. It is actually the gift. People who experience this kind of reactive anger are often the ones who care the most. They want things to be fair. They have a finely tuned sense of justice. And when that sense has been turned inward, pointed at their own unmet needs, it becomes painful. But that same radar, when redirected outward, makes them fierce advocates for the people they love. You notice what others miss. You feel what others brush past. That is not a small thing. That is everything. But the cost is real, and it would be dishonest not to name it. When someone else's good news reliably produces pain in you, you begin to distance yourself from the very people you care about. You stop celebrating with them. You grow quieter at the table when happiness arrives. And over time, relationships thin out, not because anyone abandoned you, but because joy started to feel like something that happened to other people, in a room you were not allowed to enter. Psychologists call this defensive detachment, the way people protect a wounded self by withdrawing from situations that might confirm their worst fears about themselves. It is not coldness, it is self-protection taken too far. And the loneliness it creates is one of the quietest, most underacknowledged kinds of pain there is. People assume you are arrogant, or that you secretly want everyone else to fail, or that you are simply a difficult person who cannot be happy for others. None of that is true, and you have probably never been able to explain it well enough to make anyone believe you. The truth is that your anger is a misdirected form of longing. You do not want others to have less. You want to finally feel like you deserve more. Those are completely different things. And confusing them has cost you relationships, and cost you peace, and cost you years of believing there was something fundamentally broken in how you were made. There is nothing broken. There is only a story you were handed very early about scarcity and worth that was never actually yours to carry. You are someone who has moved through the world with an open wound and managed somehow to still show up, to still care, even when caring hurt, to still want good things for yourself and underneath the noise, for the people around you too. That is not bitterness. That is someone who has not yet been told that they are allowed to take up space in their own life. The anger was never the enemy. It was always just a signal, pointing back towards something unhealed, something that still believes the world only has room for some of us to be okay. And now that you can see that clearly, something shifts. Quietly, but completely. And if this felt like someone finally read your mind, you already know what to do next.